We can do it. Yes, we can. We can change things throughout the land. But we all must lend a hand. We can do it. Oh, yes, we can. Oh, your neighbor over there, a bit bewildered, but he cares.
Welcome to Changing Our World. I'm your host, Linda Weltner, and this morning do I have a bargain for you. You know how hard it is to take a trip? The hassle of the airport, the hours on an uncomfortable plane, the change in time zones, and when you get there, it costs you an arm and a leg. You can have an even better experience than that. Travel halfway around the world and just stay here in Marblehead. And have I got the folks to tell you how to do it? We're interviewing Hugh Stewart, his wife Sharon Smith, and Kiho Ogawa, who is here from where in Japan, hon?
I live in Tokyo.
She lives in Tokyo. And if you had known us earlier, you could have had lunch with her. But now we've got a whole crew of new people for you to meet. Because Hugh has started an organization with Sharon called W.I.S.H. Hugh, tell us what does it stand for?
North Shore W.I.S.H. is Welcome International Students to Our Homes, and it's not a formal organization, but it's a Facebook group that allows you to meet students through Facebook and invite them to your home for dinner or for a week or for a month or for an event, some occasion, and get to know students that way.
Hugh, there are a lot of foreign students in colleges on the North Shore. What do they do at Christmas or Thanksgiving or spring vacation?
There are a few students that have families in this country and get invited to stay with them, but most of the students either have to go to a hotel or somewhere else. Often they'll go off to Disney World for a week, but still they have a lot of time here that they have to figure out what to do.
So they can't just stay in the dorms.
It's expensive, they can, but it's expensive and it's lonely because almost everybody's gone. So it just is not fun to be all by yourself in the dorms.
So there are kids here who are here from all parts of Asia, from Africa, some from Europe, and come the holidays, they're like, well, they can travel. Mm-hmm. Maybe a couple of them could go somewhere, but for the most part, it's up to them. Nobody is helping them.
That's right.
Now, do most of these kids who study here in colleges on the North Shore get to meet American families at all?
Some have American roommates or American classmates that occasionally invite them home, but not often enough, in my mind. And other than that, there are cases where a family has adopted a student for some time, but most don't get to know anybody locally.
So they might take trips and see various sites in the U.S.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, they'll get to Disney World. They'll get to Niagara Falls. Is a very popular place. I'm not sure why.
Have you been to Niagara Falls?
Yes. I went to Disney World. I went to Niagara Falls and New York City.
Those aren't exactly the hot spots, but they're fun. Right? What are you suggesting, Hugh?
Well, I suggest that residents that are interested and have the time and ability sign up for North Shore W.I.S.H., get on the Facebook page, and invite students to spend some time with them.
So you could have them for lunch, dinner.
Certainly.
You could have them for a holiday meal. Or if your kids have gone to college and you have an extra bedroom, or are you fussy about where you stay? Fussy. Do you know the word fussy? That means demanding. You need a really super room. Or could you sleep on a small cot on a bed somewhere?
Actually, I can sleep wherever.
And most of the kids feel that way, right?
Yeah.
They're game, right?
Yeah.
They hostiling kids.
They're young and they're adaptable. So,
Okay, now this is the question. Can you speak to them? I mean, do they speak English?
well, it's a requirement to go to school here to speak English.
Oh.
So. Now,
I never thought of that.
some will speak very fluent English.
Yes.
Some are struggling with it. Many are taking English as a second language here to improve their English. But all over the world now, the students in most countries are being exposed to English starting in middle school or earlier, and they're pretty good at it. But you can't go to classes in America if you don't speak English. So.
Okay. So, Keo, let me ask you, how much help was it to your English to be with Sharon and Hugh you stayed with them for about a month?
Yes.
Did that help your language?
Of course, because I have to speak English when I live with Hugh and Sharon. And actually, I sometimes can't understand the English word, but Hugh taught me everything about English, so I think my English was improved.
Okay, and
Because
now
of
do you know what fussy means? Fussy, that you have to have only the best is fussy.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's a new word.
Yes.
But I mean, really, I went to studying Spanish, and we were up at Dartmouth, and the guy said, mostly to the males, the best way to learn a language is to find a blonde or a brunette dictionary. Well, actually, I have to confess that Hugh called me a couple years ago, and we had a girl named Megumi who came, and then out of the blue, her sister arrived from New York, her twin sister, and we had both of them for 3 weeks. And then we had Miyuki come last year, and we're having a couple of girls whom I haven't met and don't know anything about over the Thanksgiving holiday. But I told Hugh, we can't have them for Thanksgiving. We have a large extended family and we don't have any more space. So what did you do for me?
Well, Mary Gardner is another host, and she invited them to spend Thanksgiving Day with them.
So,
With her.
I mean, with you in charge, it's very negotiable, right? So
Okay.
that, you know, if it turns out that for some days of the vacation you're going to be away, you can take them for half a vacation or for however long that you want.
The important aspect is an exchange. So where Kyo was perfecting her English by being with us, Hugh, who's trying to learn Japanese,
Yes.
could also talk to her in some Japanese and get some better understanding of the grammar and the wording and the meaning and so forth. So it's been a fabulous experience for
All right,
both sides.
can you say, Kiho, it's been very nice having you visit with us in Japanese.
Oh, I think it's half. It's
Oh
so
boy,
hard.
no.
You say it in
But,
Japanese.
For what?
Say,
Very
it has
nice.
been very nice visiting you here.
You say it's been nice to visit with us.
またここに来れて嬉しいです。
All right, can you say that? No.
No, it's too fast. I just can't pick it up that fast.
I know, but how long
But-
have you been studying Japanese?
Well, off and on, really, for years. But the last year I started to get a little more serious about
And
it.
who was your teacher?
A lady named Reiko Marcos. She is the wife of the brother of a friend of ours in the church. And she comes from Japan, and she's here to have her 12-year-old son in school here
And where does she live?
in Beverly.
Oh, so someone from the North Shore.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that you could practice your language, right?
Yes.
And then you guys have been to Japan how many times?
Yes, twice we've been to Japan. And the second time was just a year ago, and that was, of course, after Kiho and many others had been with us. So when we arrived in Tokyo, the students whom we had known got together and arranged a party at a restaurant for us. And so we went and we saw 7 of them at this restaurant and had a wonderful evening. And then if that wasn't enough, what happened was in the middle of the evening, Kiyo's parents suddenly appeared. They had to drive an hour and a half to this restaurant, and they spoke no English, but they wanted to meet us, the family that her daughter had stayed with. So we spent 5 minutes with them maybe, and then they drove home.
After we left Tokyo, we went to Kyushu, which is the big island south of the main island, and there we were escorted for 4 days by the parents of another student that we had met here, and she was along. They don't speak English, but she does, so she was our translator, and they took us all over Kumamoto and to Nagasaki, and we saw a volcano and many other things that and some wonderful meals that they were hosting for us.
So which came first? Your interest in Japan led you to start hosting Asian students, or you hosted Asian students and you started getting interested in Japan?
I've had a long time interest in Japan. My uncle went to Japan after World War II and learned fluent Japanese. He taught me to count to 10. I was just a little boy. And ever since then I had an interest, but I was reluctant to go because I thought I'd stand out too much and do something that I shouldn't do, because their customs are very different. But we had an opportunity to go to Japan with the Ota Salem Club, which is a club in Salem. Of Salem and Ota are sister cities. Otaku is part of Tokyo.
So your first interaction with Japanese culture, except for your uncle, was through this Ota group.
Right.
Can anybody
Yes.
join that?
Yes.
In Salem. And how do you learn about Japanese culture? Are there Japanese people in that program?
We were escorted the whole time by Japanese members of the Ota Salem Club in Ota.
Oh.
And so they took us everywhere, and we saw all the great sights of Japan, or many of them. There are many. It was 2 weeks that were just absolutely wonderful, and so that solidified my interest in, and I think Sharon's, in Japanese culture.
Did you have any interest in Japanese culture before?
I did, way back many years ago in college. My second most common courses I took were art history, and including a whole semester each of Chinese art and Japanese art history. And I just have always really liked the aesthetics and the
And then, of
art.
course, Peabody Essex Museum has that huge collection
Yes,
and
yes.
all kinds of programs about Chinese and Asian art.
Yes. I'm a docent there at the museum, so I get to learn a lot about the Asian collection, which is one of the finest in the country, really.
So have you taken your students to see
Oh,
the
yes.
Peabody
Oh,
Essex?
that's a requirement. And any student who comes into our home has to. And tomorrow, Kehoe and I are going to go
there.
to the museum.
So now, if somebody were to decide to take students over a holiday or something, could they arrange with you, Sharon,
Oh,
for
absolutely.
a group to go
Yeah.
and see? I mean, this is a chance to not
Yes.
only meet Asian people, but also to get to know more about their art
Their
as
culture.
well as
Yes,
their culture.
yes, absolutely.
And we shouldn't limit it to Japan. We also have very good friends in China now as a result of this program.
Because there are a lot of Chinese
There are
students.
many Chinese students.
And
Yeah.
PEM has a lot of Chinese
Yes,
art
oh
as
yes,
well.
very much so, yeah.
And do the Chinese and the Japanese kids get along together?
Yeah.
No
Oh,
problem?
they do,
Yeah.
no problem. They're
Yeah.
they're good friends, right?
They
Are
have
they-
many friends.
Even though they're not from Taiwan, right? They're
No,
from
yeah,
China
mainland
itself,
China.
but there's no problem.
No,
No.
Yeah,
no problem,
that's nice.
yeah.
A generation or two ago, not so good, but
Yeah, but
this generation, they get along fine.
I remember when we had some Vietnamese people that at the end of the Vietnam War here, we tried to get them work in local restaurants, and there were all these conflicts between the cultures. But I think we're past that. Let's talk about some of the fun things we've done, because we had an expedition to the Children's Museum last Christmas, right? And?
We went down for, it was actually the Chinese New Year, the Lunar New Year.
Oh yeah, the Chinese New Year.
And they had a big event there. We did another one shortly after that to the Japan Society in Boston, which also had a Lunar New Year. And there was another one at the Peabody Essex Museum. So we did all three of the Lunar New Year events.
So you get to celebrate Asian holidays.
Yes, and you learn some of the cultural traditions of those holidays, like pounding rice to make mochi.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's the sticky stuff that tastes so good.
Yeah.
I now order it if I can in a restaurant, and the first time I ever tasted it was at the Children's Museum, the mochi.
Good, good. See, that's a good example of the exchange
And then you've taken people shopping at a
at H
big
Mart.
Chinese, no,
Japanese,
Korean.
Asian, it's
Yeah,
Korean-owned
it's
Asian
Asian.
market in Burlington.
And that a group went.
Yeah. we did
Because,
several.
that's hard when you go in these foreign places. All you can see is the picture. And you don't know what's in the cans.
Right?
So to have somebody to help explain
it
to
helps a
you
lot.
what you're buying would be very helpful.
It helps a lot.
Hugh really enjoys cooking
Yeah.
Japanese style, and so I think he calls upon and wants some students to go with him so that he can find what he's looking for, because he has a shopping list and many things are not in English, so he needs help to find what he's
And
looking
Kiho,
for.
did you teach them any dishes at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah, I sometimes cook Japanese food to you, but I
Yeah.
think it's only twice or something.
Yes, we do get
Yeah.
some good meals from the students.
Yeah,
They
you're
cook
free to
for
ask
us.
them to cook for you if you
Yes.
could.
They
Oh,
like
yes.
to.
They like to,
We've got
yes.
two Chinese girls right now students right now that have said we want to come over and cook for you. So we have to find an opportunity.
Invite me for dinner.
Okay. And then we've gone on a whale watch. We went down to see the Constitution. We went.
And is that just the two of you, or did you take other people with you?
These were different groups.
Yeah, groups.
We took. Oh, you went. Kiho and Miyuki and Vicky, the
Yeah.
Chinese girl, went on a whale watch with me, and then some other Chinese people went on another whale watch with me.
So it's adding a little adventure to our humdrum, go to work every day life. Let me ask you, Kiho,
Yeah.
what do you think you learned from living with an American family?
Actually, I felt the difference between Japanese family and American family, and in Japan, it's hard to us to get together whole of family, but American we can, and the experiences
Yes.
which I did is almost first time for me, like while watching, and even though Christmas is the first time for me, like
That you ever celebrated Christmas?
we just celebrate and we got only one present, but I got
Oh.
tons of presents from you and Sharon, and we opened it together. It's really first time for me.
So if you got a present for Christmas, do you
Yes.
get it in the morning?
Yeah, in the
Did
morning.
Santa Claus bring it, or you don't? Yes, you have
Yeah,
Santa Claus.
but I mean, when kids were sleeping, Santa Claus put one box near the pillow, and we opened it by ourselves. But
Oh, when you wake up, there's the
Yeah,
present and you
yeah,
open it.
But here there are many presents
I-
under the
Tree.
trees,
yeah.
and we
Like a mountain
yeah,
under
yeah,
the
like a
tree.
mountain.
Yeah.
And we passed the presents and we opened it together.
Yeah, yes.
Right?
yes,
And,
yes.
and do you think that's more fun?
Yes, I think so.
Because you get to see like 20 presents
Yes.
instead of just one.
That's
It's
true.
like every box is opening for you. You don't care whether you get to take it home, but you get to see it.
Yes.
And do Japanese people take like students overnight? Would you get the same ability for, say, American students to go into Japanese homes?
I don't think so. I mean, it's unpopular in Japan.
And it's partly, Hugh,
Well-
because they live in much smaller spaces,
Yes.
right?
But part of this OTA Salem organization that Hugh mentioned is really the sole purpose of it is as a cultural exchange. They don't have, the thing that they do is they have in the summertime an exchange with students. American high school students go to Japan. Japanese middle school students come to this country. And then there's an adult group exchange as well at a different time. And so there's always staying in a family on each side. So in that case, Japanese do open their homes and do take in one of the American students.
But I
to stay
understand
there.
that most
But it's not-
socializing in Japan is done in restaurants, and
Yeah.
it's just more common.
Yeah,
In China,
yeah,
too.
it's-
And in China too.
So with that program, it is possible to
And
stay.
who knew that was right in Salem? Do you have to pay for more than your airfare, or do they take care of you when you get there?
You have to pay a bit more than the airfare, but it's still very reasonable.
A very
Yeah.
a very reasonable way to travel. And I know we had a foster child in Italy many years ago, and when we went to Italy, we went to the place that was fostering him, and we got to meet him and his family. And it's sort of like to have a destination or a friend when you go somewhere, and not just see monuments and everything, but
Makes
to
a
know somebody.
Huge difference when you're
Yes,
visiting.
we should go to Japan and call on all our girls that have
Yes,
stayed here.
absolutely.
By the same token, we went to China last year for 10 days, and we were hosted there by the parents of a student that is a good friend of ours through this program. And they took us down to Lijiang, and they took us to the temple where Kung Fu was created, and we saw a Kung Fu demonstration.
And did you
number of
drive in
other
a
things.
car, or did you go by public
In
transportation?
that case, we were driven by a car.
Yeah.
In a car. So, so people are grateful, and they show it by treating us very well when we visit them.
How many students have you had in your house, would you say? Just guess.
1, 2, 3, 4, about 5, I'd say.
Oh,
or
that stayed
6.
with us.
That
but-
stayed with
Oh,
us.
more than that. You're forgetting Fumitaka.
No, I'm not.
Okay,
Anyway, 6 or
half
so.
a dozen, yeah. And how has it changed you?
Well, it's both informed me about the different cultures, but also has shown that kids are the same the world over. There's many aspects that are no different.
And so you feel like you have daughters or sons, right?
Yes.
Isn't that
Oh,
the
yes,
feeling you have?
yes,
She's
yes.
one of our daughters.
Yes.
She's our daughter. We call her
Yeah.
our daughter. A Chinese boy that we call our son.
You know, I was just reading that one of the ways to stay young that they recommend is intergenerational connections,
yeah.
and to have someone younger in your life.
Uh-huh.
I found out, because we had a big talk with the girls about history, that they barely knew about Pearl Harbor. I mean, these kids have been born years after World War II. Did you learn about Pearl Harbor in school?
I think I studied a little bit, but I forgot all of things.
See, all the things, you know, it's
Yeah.
just so interesting to just grasp that these kids don't have the same history
That's right.
that we have, and they are growing up as if it's been wiped clean, the wars that were behind us and the hostilities and all. It's very interesting to see how that happens.
It impresses me how courageous these kids are to come to a totally strange country, and where the language is new to them relatively, and it just is. I just am awed by how courageous they are, and one thing we haven't mentioned is food. Food is very different, and we go to a Japanese restaurant or a Chinese restaurant here. It's not like it is in the real country. It's not the same. Some things are the same, some dishes, but there's a lot of differences and it's
You
got to
know,
be hard for them.
I know. I was in Mexico for the longest period of time I've ever traveled, and after a while, you get so sick of Mexican, of Thai, of any kind of food that isn't your kind of food. So, do you get homesick for food, or did you when you were here?
Sometimes, because I live by myself during my stay in the U.S. I mean, except I stayed with Hugh and Sharon, so I could cook Japanese meal, but at the lunchtime I could only eat American food in cafeteria. So sometimes I felt homesick.
I know, because even
Yes.
if it's tasty, it's not really your food.
I know.
Unlike when we went, I presume when you went to school, certainly when I did, they can cook in their dorms. They have kitchen arrangements in the dorms, and so they can cook Chinese or Japanese.
And
or
that's
whatever
not
they
just
have.
foreign students.
No,
Anybody can cook
all
in the
the
dorms.
So-
I don't recall cooking in my dorm.
No, it was a totally new concept to me. And so they come over here and they eat their own food, which is good, but again, they don't get the experience necessarily of American food, except
I know cafeteria food is not the
Cafeteria
same as home food anyway.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to give you a chance to do a commercial, Hugh.
Okay.
Talk to my audience and tell them why they should go to your Facebook page, which is, how do you get there?
Assuming you're signed up with Facebook, search for North Shore Wish, 3 words. And you should get to our group. There's both a page and a group. The page has information about it, and the group is something that you can join. And just say, I want to be part of this group, and I'll make arrangements for you through, I'll post something for you on Facebook.
And this is like sort of a 2-person organization. There's not a huge
That's right.
staff.
That's right.
They will be dealing with you, and it's very, very flexible.
There's no money involved. We're just doing it because we feel it should be done.
And I have to just add, everyone I've met through this program has been a delight. They're here because they want to make friends with Americans. They want to be invited back. They will wash your dishes after dinner if you ask them. They will make their beds. They will do their laundry. They will make your life a delight. So Kehoe is a perfect example. They all are just as beautiful and just as friendly and just as warm and just as good at speaking English. So go ahead, make your year.
Hello, I'm Aya. I have been here 4 months, however, I didn't have any American friends. But now, I could know about American culture and how to celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas because I met North Shore Wish. I did homestay during the Thanksgiving holiday and I have been staying here again during the winter break. I walked around Marblehead and visited Salem Witch Museum and Peabody Essex Museum. They have so many delicious food here. I didn't expect that I really enjoy American food so much in here. I saw Marblehead versus Swampscott football game. Football was new things for me. Christmas was a lot of fun. I think it is wonderful to give Christmas presents and Christmas cards each other.
Thank you very much.
'Cause an idea, this time has come, cannot be stopped by anyone. Plant your seeds in fertile ground. There ain't nothing gonna keep it down.